which gets us to point 2. God chose to make promises. It's not as though the word of God has failed, for not all who are descended from Israel belong to Israel. Not all are children of Abraham because they are his offspring, but through Isaac shall your offspring be named. This means that it is not the children of the flesh who are the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted as offspring, the children of the promise. God chose to make promises. For this is what the promise said: about this time next year I will return, Sarah will have a son. Not only so, but also when Rebekah had conceived children by one man, our forefather Isaac, though they were not yet born, and they had done nothing good or bad, in order that God's promise of election might continue, not because of works, but because of him who calls. She was told, the older will serve the younger, as it is written, Jacob I've loved, but Esau I hated. God's promises are part of his sovereign plan. Don't get distracted by this whole Jacob I loved, Esau I hated. What we're pointing out here, what Paul is making a point of here, is God is making promises. He's saying, I will not give up on the people that I love. I will not give up on those that I call. That God has called you, and he loves you, and he has a sovereign plan and makes promises. God, he doesn't have to communicate through promises, but he does. And because he's communicated in a promise, he's faithful to those promises. If God weren't faithful to his promises, he would no longer be God. There would be some other power greater than him, and that is not true. There is no power greater than God. God gives us the security of promises. When you have a promise from God, it's firm, it's secure. He will always be faithful. He's never going to leave you or forsake you. And then God has authority to say something, and then it happens. And I want to just pose some questions to you. Do you think about God's promises to you and what he said to you? What is God saying to you right now? What has God said to you? I love, the announcement from Pastor Julie earlier where she said, I heard from the Lord, and I'm choosing to step out of where I'm at into a new place. What is that? That's someone saying, God spoke to me. I trust in God's faithfulness. I trust in God's promises. I love that faith. What is God saying to you? What has God said to you? Where can you lean into God's voice? God's voice speaking to you, giving you promises, reminding you of his goodness, reminding you of his faithfulness. Where are you getting silence to hear his voice? This is one of the things where we've switched our worship nights on Tuesday night to a guided prayer and worship night. Why? Because there was a sense in us of, I want to be trained to hear God's voice. And a guided prayer time really slows us down and trains our mind to really listen to what the Lord is saying. Where we meditate on a text, we sing together. And we're going to be doing a guided prayer and worship night this Tuesday night. I invite you to stream it. It's going to be a great time, and it's about hearing God's voice. What are those promises? What is God speaking to us?